Hello everyone. We are going to look into into a live demonstration of the databases that are used again by the pharmaceutical companies in the field of the pharmaceutical and biomedical products that are maintained by FDA and Health Canada. Of course, I did select a few that we are using regularly. We do have more databases that are used as well by, again, people in regulatory affairs, in clinical research, in quality assurance, in pharmacovigilance as well. So here we are looking into drugs at FDA, again, which is the website is www.accessdata.fda.gov. When you come here, you are going to be able to add, I would say, your drug name, or you can also browse by drug name. You can also look into the drug approval reports by month. So again, it gives you a type of tabulated summary of the approvals of the drugs by month. It means that even it will help you to do regulatory competitive intelligence activities, because you know your company. You can know, okay, which drug is approved, what is the status of the approval, which company did it, what is the indications, what the dose, etc., etc. So let's go over Effexor now. I'm going to just click on search, and in the Effexor search I see that I have two results. One of them is about Effexor when we had the capsules, and then we had extended release capsules for Effexor XR. This is for a drug for depression and anxiety. Then when you click, you will be able to see Effexor or venlafaxine hydrochloride, and then it will now show you a tabulated summary of, again, the information that exists in FDA. Now you can email the information to anyone you would like to. You can see the medication guide. You can also look into importing this with, again, CSV, with Excel. I'm not going to do that, but Excel, or you can print it. Now what is interesting is that you also have access to the therapeutic equivalence, looking into the label for the NDA. That's the label equivalent to product monographs in Canada. Here we talk about the FDA. So here the information that they have about the drug is called label, and this label is as of what has been approved when we did our submission through NDA. We can also look into the approval dates and the history, the letters, labels. That's because the NDA here, which is 020699, started several years ago, and there have been having amendments or changes to the label. Now you see the dates, the submissions, and of course the categories, and we can also read the letter for the submission of a new label, as well as the label itself that has been updated. So if I just go down, okay, I see that I'm having now several changes into the label. There have been some letters, there have been some other information that has been communicated with FDA. And what is interesting, look at that review of labeling, manufacturing, and CMC. You have access to these documents. You have the label, you have efficacy, new indication, the letter, etc. So this website is also a repository of the documents that your company did send to FDA for a specific drug. You have access also to your competitors' drugs. So you can, because of the transparency, you can also look into, okay, what your competitors are doing. It's very interesting to look at this way as well. Now, this is just, I would say, one page. You may have more pages, of course. Now, you can also save this in Excel, in CSV, which is a format where you can now import it not just to Excel, but to any database. You can also print it in PDF, for example. So this is a repository that we use in order to learn about our own products, but also on our competitors' products. And it's extremely useful. Now we can talk about the clinical trials. In the product label, we have a section for clinical trials. When we talk about pharmacovigilance and drug safety profile, we can also look into a section for the drug safety and pharmacovigilance section in the label. When you're looking into, again, the dose, indication, all of the information is there as well. Usually, we don't come to this database if we would like to have access right away to our product monograph, okay? But this is having access to the latest product monograph, or here, since we talk about FDA, having access to the product label. The latest product label for a product in the US is in the website called Daily Med. So search for Daily Med, and you're now going to have access to tens of thousands of drugs that are already registered in the US, and the site is maintained by FDA, and it shows all of the labels, latest labels of the products. But if you would like to look into the past and looking into the evolution of a product through years, like Effexor, you can always come to this website. Another database, or I should say a place for storing the data related to post-marketing requirements, is on this page. This is a database not as elaborated as, again, drugs at the FDA, but this is a database that allows us, obviously, to look into, again, any commitment that was needed for a drug to stay on the market. So here we talk about commitments. When FDA approves your drug, you go to the market, but there is a condition, and the condition is that you do some studies or some preclinical studies in order to test further the safety or efficacy of your product. And here we talk about commitment, where you have weeks, months, or years to go over those studies. You may have ongoing studies where you can now send regular, I would say, annually or biannually reports to FDA. And this is how you're going to, of course, look into, again, how to stay in compliance with regulations. So if you would like to do some search, we can look into again, the database. So I just wrote here, for the post-market requirements and commitments, I would like to know what my competitor, Pfizer, is doing, how it's doing, okay? So here, I can choose the name, the product, or maybe I would like to have all of the products. I look at the NDA, which is New Drug Application, and ANDA, this is for generic drugs, standing for Abbreviated New Drug Application, or a Biological Licensing Application number. You can put that. We also look into the requirements, all status. Are they pending, released, fulfilled, ongoing? We can also search for these. And then required under, of course, which of these rules or regulations. And then we can also, again, search by the approval date of the drug. What is again interesting is that it allows us as a company to look into what are the information available on the FDA website related to the post-market requirements and commitments. However, this is also helping us to look into our competitors. Again, this is for regulatory intelligence, looking into what others are doing. It allows us, by looking into the commitments for our competitors' drugs, to look into how we are going to build a strategy for our own drug, the one that we are working on, or the one that we are having on the market. because we see that if, for example, our competitor is now working on several clinical trials that will allow the company to show to the market that their product is safer, then we cannot compete with them. So we will need also to go over similar studies, maybe exact studies, but just changing the drug with our drug, and then to be ready for showing to the market that our product is as safe as their product or even safer. So you see, we use the databases, and there are several uses for that. Now, if I just look into Pfizer and I click on the search button, I will see that I do have 21 commitments. So when I'm going to read this one, this is applicant, okay, then the product is which the name is here, what's the NDA or BLA number, then annual report. Why annual report? That's because this is an ongoing study. Again, this is to establish a worldwide pregnancy surveillance study in women exposed to this drug and during pregnancy to assess the risks of pregnancy complications and adverse effects. Very interesting and very sensitive topic because we are dealing with pregnant population. But as you see, this is one of the study commitments. So the company, in order to keep the drug on the market, they need to have a study to see if there is any pregnant person taking the drug. Now, on purpose or accidentally, again, depends, but as a prescription here, this is what I see. In this case, we will have to report it to FDA and then to have a summary study report at the end of each year. And we send the summary as a requirement for the post-market requirements and commitments. We send it to FDA. Now you may also look into, again, another study. Okay, this one is another one. No, it's the same. Establish, this is again worldwide pregnancy. Okay, this is the second one, very similar. You have deferred pediatric study under PREA for treatment of sedation of non-intubated patients. Okay, again, this is another product by Pfizer. We have the product, the NDA number, the approval, and here we see that the status is fulfilled. So this requirement was a commitment set as a condition for Pfizer to market their drug, Hospira. Okay, no, sorry, Precedex. And then what they did is that they went on the market and they did the study within a specific time frame in order to fulfill, again, the request from FDA for this commitment. Now you can always continue with other pages. You can always continue with other products as well. Again, this is a very interesting and useful database to look into the study commitments, to look into the status for us, what FDA knows about us. We don't need to call them anymore to say, what do you know about us? Did we update everything? No, we have to have everything up to date. This is a way to verify, again, that we are up to date with FDA. The other use is, again, with our competitors. Very, very useful database. The storage area for the fast track approvals by FDA is in this web page. This is www.fda.gov/drugs/NDA hyphen BLA hyphen approvals. Here, this is not a database. This is just a tabulated summary of the approvals, fast track approvals of drugs in 2023. As I mentioned before, we may not have all of the dates, all of the information. Now, I don't know the reason. Maybe they are not ready. Maybe they are being prepared. I don't know. But this is what we have. And when you open on the approval, you will see the application type, the submission type, the proprietary name, established name, the applicant or the company, the approval date, and the use. This will allow us again to check that our documents are up to date with FDA. It also allows us to look into products that are from the same, I would say, class than our product, to look into what they did so that they would get a fast track review. So again, this is a marketing. This is a marketing tool. I may not say that, but this is mainly a tool for competitive intelligence as well, because now you can look into what happens overall in again in the fast track world with FDA. You can also look into your competitors' drugs, because your competitors are not going to tell you what they are doing, but they need to come to these databases and to register, as well as you. You will need to write your information, keep the information up to date. Okay, this is a freedom of information, and this is not your trade secret here. Okay, if that was your trade secret on how to make your drug or vaccine or any product, okay, this is a trade secret. You have a drug master file. You have to keep it, and you keep it on your premises. Okay, you don't send it anywhere. But this information is public. In this page, we can look into the breakthrough therapy approvals. This page is not, again, doesn't have an interface to any database. This is a repository system, I would say, or page, where we can look into breakthrough therapy approvals. Again, very interesting to see that, again, as you see, this is as of December 31st, and there are 18 approvals only, okay, for FDA. We can again know what's the type of the application, the submission number, the proprietary name, and then which company did it, and then when it was approved and for which use. Again, it allows us to see if we can, whether or not, again, have our product being reviewed in, I would say, again, in through the breakthrough therapy approval. We have here a page for the accelerated approvals on the US Food and Drug website. Here, we don't have an interface like a search interface in a database. We do use this page as a repository, so that, again, as you can see, we have the accelerated approvals as of 21st of 2023, where we can now see the information about which drugs have been approved in an accelerated way. And what is interesting, again, is not just the applicants, it's not just, again, the accelerated approval date, but mainly total time to accelerated approval in months. So we see that, again, here it gives us an indication if we would like to go through the same acceleration pathway for our own product. And of course, here, when we look into the indication, we see that if these are our competitors, again, we can use the information in order to build our regulatory strategy. How many patients we should use, which indications we should test. Or, for example, again, I would say how many patients we should have, in which countries we should test them. These are the information that are very important, because we are in a big market. We are making so much money, and we are making so many different products to save people. Okay, you may look into, okay, pharmaceutical companies, they are rich, they are making too much money, but on the other side, if they don't make a drug, who is going to do that? So those pharmaceutical companies, they have their trade secrets, of course, but they have to build their marketing strategy, their clinical research strategy, their regulatory strategy, looking into timelines. When I'm talking about regulatory strategies, I'm talking about the timelines that are important. Okay, a CEO comes to your office and says, look, my friend, we need to put this drug XYZ to the market when you think it will be on the market. So us, okay, those who know about, I would say, the regulatory affairs as well, or clinical research as well, we know how long does it take for the preparation of a package. How long does it take for the preparation of a form, of some documents, where we should go, how we should proceed, to where we should send the package, what would be the format of the package. But then we are now going to strategize. We are not just going to close our eyes and look into, okay, for the past approval, let me try that. Maybe it works. No, we don't do that. We look into the previous accelerated approval pathways. We're looking into previous indications, looking into the history of all of the drugs, and we are going now to build based on the deadlines, the indications, the market segments, those who may become our patients. We are going to build a regulatory strategy. And we are going to say, for example, that for the new drug application, we are in the U.S. FDA. For the NDA that we are going to prepare, okay, we are going to need 2 clinical trials for phase 1. We need 3 for phase 2. We need 2 for phase 3, and we also need to have these animal studies. We also need to look into these indications. Indications that here from this table, you see that the indication was an accelerated pathway. So by learning from our competitors, we can adjust our regulatory strategy. We can also go beyond our competitor by looking into other competitors if they're all selling the same class drug that we are making. And then we are now going to have a strategy where we are going to compare. We will be able to compare our product with our competitors based on their own clinical trials or indication that you're using for the accelerated approval pathway. Now you understand very well why it's important to have the databases, and of course here some areas where we can go and have, of course, the information that we need in order to do our job, which is not just preparing for the packages. It's not just, again, communicating with regulatory authorities. It's also a strategy. Building a strategy as a team in order to show that our product is safer, better, less expensive, why not? More available, of course, to the population compared to our competitors. That was an example of a regulatory strategy. We have, again, a page on the U.S. Food and Drug website, which is called Priority New Drug Application and Biological Licensing Application Approvals. So here we can have access to the approvals that have been done based on the priority. So here we have the application number, the proprietary name, establishment name, the applicant name, the review classification, and of course, again, the approval date. Okay, so for the classifications, again, I can go down because it's written, always it's written again in the margin somewhere. P is priority review, O is orphan drug. The orphan drug designation is when there is no other equivalent treatment for a given disease. So your drug is unique for now. It becomes an orphan drug, which is very positive because it means that you are now having priority over other drugs because you are now addressing a disease for which there is no drug so far. For O. P for priority review. Again, this is based on the indications that your company provided to again FDA, and FDA will decide whether or not to review in a priority, I would say, in a priority, your application. So instead of waiting for 10 months or a year, you're going to wait for 6 months before being able to go to the market. You may say 6 months, okay, is it too much? Yes, Because if you are dealing with a blockbuster selling, I don't know, trillions of dollars per year or billions of dollars per year, one day delay maybe 20, 30 million dollars. Now imagine to be sooner on the market for one day. Okay, estimation of $30 million, $10 million, okay? Now imagine 6 months to go sooner to the market. This is why we look into the priority reviews, looking into, again, making sure that we are going faster to a market based on the indication of our product. Let's talk about clinicaltrials.gov. Clinicaltrials.gov is the official repository of FDA for the clinical trials. Any company looking into testing their product, it may be a new product or an existing product but tested on a new indication, on a new population, or on a new formulation, for example, tablets, but now we have a liquid formulation, for example, or injectable formulation, they will need to register their product, their clinical trials in clinicaltrials.gov. Now you may say, okay, but then what happens next? What happens next is that we may register the product in clinicaltrials.gov, but then we may wait a few months. Even you may see some studies that have been registered a year or 2 years before they started. But it doesn't matter. FDA just wants that we put put our study in the registry. Then when we are going to start, we are going to have someone from regulatory affairs or clinical research department to come to the interface of clinicaltrials.gov to open the case for your study and then to update that case. Now, for example, it started. Now you may now come back in a month to say we have several patients who are recruited. You may come back a month later, so after 2 months after the trial, in order to bring another information into this interface. This will continue until the trial is complete. And then we will still add information about adding raw data, tabulated or not, in tables, in the in the interface of the trial. Now you may say, but this is easy. This is not easy because, first of all, we don't have just one clinical trial, okay? For myself, when I was, again, working in a pharma company, that was my first job, I was dealing with 40 clinical trials per year. And we had more than 40 clinical trials per year because I was working in a multinational company. So that was a full-time job, I can tell you, just to keep track of all of the changes into the studies, the reports, the populations, recruitments, analysis, writing reports, etc. That we had full-time jobs just for updating those, registries, because this is required by law. Now let's go over again how the clinicaltrials.gov works. Okay, so here what I did, I will go back again, is that I just wrote effects, or again, condition of disease. This is just a search box. You can search by location. You can look into what are the studies taking place in your own region. For example, just put a location or intervention or treatment or other terms or in a disease condition. Then the site is going to show you in a tabulated format, in a table that you see, the list of the studies. So for me, I did look into the condition that was heart attack. I could have chosen heart attack and stroke. For the heart attack, I found out that from the database I have 3,252 studies. Some are completed, as you can see. Some have no status, are unknown, because the person in Reg Affairs or Clinical Research departments, they didn't come here to update. They should have updated this. We also have studies with results. We have studies who have been terminated, those who are recruiting as well, and this is how you will be able to see which study has which status, what are the conditions or disease condition in in subjects, and then what are the intervention. Now I'm going to choose the study which is aspirin resistance and stroke risk. Interesting. This is completed as well. And when I click on that, what it shows me, the database is going to show me the study overview for that specific study. I see that there is a start date, there is a primary completion after 3 years, there is a study completion after 4 years. I had 93 patients. It was an intervention, so I was giving something, or it was not this case, but it could have been a surgical procedure, intervention, or it could be, or it is, just giving a drug to a patient. And then we look into phases. Phase 2, we started with a low number of subjects, and then we continued with phase 3 for having larger or higher number of subjects. Then we look into the drugs. We didn't only choose aspirin, but we also used clopidogrel. So we were comparing our drug aspirin 81 milligrams with clopidogrel, and we also testing our aspirin 18 milligram with the aspirin at 300 milligram. Why? We are looking into an outcome. What is again the outcome that we need? We are going to be able to look into the outcome by clicking on different sections in the in this interface. Okay, so let me continue with the participation criteria. Who is eligible? What are the inclusion criteria to include a subject, and what are the exclusion criteria to exclude a subject? So here we see that we had no exclusion criteria. Patients had to just take aspirin or Plavix, and patients had, if they had a stroke or other cerebrovascular diseases. Then we can look into the study plan, where we will be able to see what's the allocation, what is the interventional model, if it's mask or not. It means if patients know what they are taking or not. And then in the tabulated summary, we can see what are the study arms or the groups of patients who are being exposed to different drugs or different doses. So here we see that we had a group which was called active comparator. Okay, 1, 2, 3, but group 1, the comparator was again Plavix, and we were just looking into using Plavix at 75 milligram every day. Then we also had a second group, and the active comparator was aspirin at 81 milligram per day, and we were giving our patients aspirin at 81 milligram per day. These are coated tablets of aspirin. And then active comparator is aspirin at around or a little bit more than 300 milligram, open label always, and then we gave it once a day, QD, to our patients. What we were measuring were here. So we're looking into the outcome measures. We were looking into platelet function analysis, PFA, that's why we have PFA here. PFA was performed using the PFA 100 device, and then they came up with several results that they could then compare the results of the platelet function analysis in between three groups. I don't want to go too much into detail of the scientific reason or rationale here because I'm just showing you the database. However, you understand very well that this information must be added, and this is critical. We have to add that. Who does it? Someone in regulatory affairs, someone in the clinical research department, maybe someone if you have another type of department like scientific information or libraries, depends, but someone with the knowledge of clinical trials and someone with the knowledge of course, the ICH GCP or good clinical practice. And this is why, of course, when you're applying for jobs, even in reg affairs, having a certificate in ICH GCP for Canada, if you're applying for Canada, is important. If you're applying for similar jobs in the US, of course, you have to take an ICH GCP that is, again, compatible with the US regulations. Of course, you may say, but ICH GCP is an international standard. Yes. However, the way that the ICH GCP has been embedded into the laws and regulations of different countries, that way is different. Not at 100%, but some key terms, keywords are not the same. Deadlines or some requirements, some templates are not the same. So when you're applying for a job in Canada, make sure that you did complete certificates or corporate level certificates, for example, in Canada. Not online, not on Course Hero, not on Subscribe, whatever. These are all, again, I would say trainings that are not validated by a professor or by the professional. This is why when you add your certificates, okay, in your resume or in your career portfolio, if we see that this is from Course Hero or if this is from, I don't know, some unknown source, we may not accept it. And make sure that if you're working in Canada, that all of your certificates are based on Health Canada regulations, not FDA regulations. Even if we may still have a company where we are dealing with Canada and with the US as well. But make sure that, again, your certificates, your knowledge is up to date and it's related to the country in which you are working or with countries in which you are doing business. So now you see that updating this information takes time, okay? And I can tell you, based on my experience, it's sometimes 2 hours, not per day, but 2-3 hours per week. But if you have 40 studies, you see now that soon, I mean, it's very fast when it's going to take time to, I would say, more time in order to complete those information. Now, you can also look into the publications. This is Northwestern University. That was the sponsor, no collaborators. The principal investigator is this person from the university. If you have any question about the study, we are going to connect with that, again, principal investigator as well. You have access to the publications and, of course, all of the study record dates. You can also look into the record history of the study just to know more about the study. And the reason why I chose this example was not only to go over the content of the protocol, because we saw the protocol here, but it was also for showing you the results. So when you look at the results on the top, you're going to click on the tab Results Posted. Don't expect to have the entire summary report or articles. Of course, for this study, we had an article, but the article has been published. So it takes usually a year, maybe, just for an article to be published. It has been published, and then we added the results here. It's rare that we put results before having published the information, because, again, this is a trade secret. That's why. So if you would like to look at the results posted, you will see that the results are here, okay? But this is just raw data, no statistical analysis. Still, by knowing this, you can always conduct your statistical analysis. This is a very, very simple and very nicely, well-designed study as well, to me, in my opinion. And again, here we have descriptive statistics. Here they are again giving you different measures that they made in different groups, group 1, 2, and 3. And then they continue with adding information about the adverse events, information about again, the limitations, if there is any, collaborators, if there is any, etc., etc. So now you understand that, yes, we do have those registries. The one that I'm showing you is trials.gov, which is extremely important, very interesting as well. Another feature that this database has, and you don't have it in the updated version, is the version that we call classic version. I repeat, there are other functionalities that you can find in the classic website or the classic version. How you access the classic version? Go to the top of the website and then to the web page, and then go to your right. Click on go to the classic website. And then let me tell you why I chose that. Which is because in the I can just put Canada, for example. Here, in the search engine search that we have, I'm just going to search for Canada, and it tells me that actually we have 28,118 studies in Canada. Some are terminated, some are completed, some are suspended, some they are enrolling by invitation, they may be recruiting, they may not yet recruiting, they may have an unknown status, or they are withdrawals. So all of these different studies are here. Now you can, on the left side, for example, just click all, but just you would like to know which studies are not yet recruiting. And we see that among 28,000 studies that we had, we are having 27,627 studies that are recruiting. Oh, sorry. No. I did the opposite. I'm so sorry. I had to remove all of these and then to just check to see which studies now are not yet recruiting. This is it. So here we have 444 studies in Canada that are not yet recruiting, but they are ready. Very interesting. Now, allow me just to go back here, because I wanted to show you the previous perfect classic website. When I go to the classic website, I'm going to choose again Canada, and then search. And here, what is interesting is that you can also see all of the studies on the map, world map. So this is again an excellent tool for regulatory strategy, not just by looking into all of these studies, by looking into the list, then to just say what are the studies that are not yet recruiting, for example. Now you may want to see how many of those studies they are again in children up to the age of 17. Okay, I choose that. I'm making it more selective. Then I want to know how many studies in the world they are they are interventional. Okay. Then how many they have results? I don't want to know that. How many of them they are in which phase? I want to choose phase 2 and 3, and then I apply. Now on the map, I can see only studies that I chose. This is competitive intelligence, because I know now how many companies are as testing again their products in the pediatric population. So, as I told you, my friends, it's extremely important that you're exposed to databases, to places where you know that the data that you get is accurate, even if, again, like when we refer to pharmacovigilance, for example, database, we may still have lots of cleaning before being able to use that database. But for this information, okay, which is not that sensitive compared to pharmacovigilance, here this is just again a very simple use in order to see what are the studies again in the world. Now you can also, for example, just remove the not yet recruiting, remove the different updates, and then when I have this, I go to the map, and now I go to Canada, and I see in each province what are the studies. I can now, if I would like to know what are the studies in Ontario, I come to Ontario, and I can now see all of the studies in Ontario. And now I just want to know which studies are recruiting now, and this is in pediatric population. I apply this, and I'm going to have 569 studies. So this is a very easy, very straightforward way to use the databases that allow us to see what our competitors are doing. It also allows us to keep ourselves updated with the FDA website, which is here, trials.gov, and we can always get ideas from who else is doing what our competitors are doing, what are the timelines, because as you saw, you also write down how many patients, for which indications, for which drug, the eligibility criteria, and when it starts, when it ends. These are all timelines that are so important in business and in building our regulatory strategy. Let's talk about Government of Canada Drug and Health Product Register. This is a database for all of the Canadian products. Here we talk about the drugs and medical devices, of course, and natural products. We would like to know about what is registered in Canada. So you go to drugs and you search for the drugs. You can now see that for Effexor, for example, we do have several information. We can look into the summary reports, antidepressant, etc. And then it ends there. Okay, of course you have a lot to read, but it's not as sophisticated as the one that we had in drugs at FDA. This is my point. Now you may want, but what is interesting here is that for drugs at FDA, you had only drugs. Here, you can go on the top menu. You go to drugs, you have the drugs. You go to natural products, it's going to look into the natural health products database. You would like to know more about medical devices, it will bring you to medical devices database. If you would like to go to okay, I don't have cosmetics, it doesn't matter, I don't have it, but anyways, for medical devices, NHPs and drugs, we come of course to this database. I'm inviting you to again to please become familiar. Know that these databases exist so that we use these for building our regulatory strategy. Know that you can use the database because you are going to end up working on projects where we need information from existing trials. We may need to create a tabulated summary of again clinical trials, and where we go, we come to clinicaltrials.gov, or we come to the database of the Government of Canada for the again drugs and natural products and medical devices. Perfect. Now you understand very well where to go in order to look into the drugs, again, health and consumers products. Now, if you would like to know now about the clinical trials, okay, we have to go to this website, which is clinical hyphen information.canada.ca. This is where you will be able to add your drug, and then it will give you some information. For example, clinical information. Let's see for Effexor again. You may not have too many, but maybe you may have some. We're just going to search to see what are the studies. Again, the way that it shows this way. Oh, okay, no problem. I think the previous, yes, this page was already showing that. Okay. So when we look into Effexor, we will be able to see the list of the information. Okay, it doesn't work. It doesn't matter. I will retry again. These things happen. Okay, so here I put Effexor, and then I'm going to click on search. And okay, it seems that it doesn't show any result. It was showing the results, but there's no problem. I just wanted to show you that this database is working, that it gives you underneath this table a tabulated summary of the studies as well. This is not again as elaborated as trials.gov, but you may find studies that are only done in Canada, and you may not find any trace of those studies in the clinicaltrials.gov. It's rare, but if you would like to do a perfect job like always, we will need also to double check with the Health Canada database. You can also look into medical devices, where here, for example, I already add something about the ear device. You can see here as well in a tabulated summary. You can now look into different medical devices, when it's approved, what is the class, which manufacturing facility, and application number as well. And of course, if you would like to now click on different components, you are going to look into again information about that product. So I'm going to show you the information about the product. So this is the information. We have clinical studies, we have technical evaluation reports. For the clinical studies, as you see, for that device, Medtronic, that is the owner of that device, gave or submitted to Health Canada this information about the clinical studies. So again, it allows us to keep up to date our information on governmental databases. It also allows us, these registries, to look into what our competitors are doing. So overall, you will need to become familiar with those, with all of these different databases, and then to be able to use them for different projects that you are going to, of course, complete. Okay, thank you so very much again for your attendance, and I wish you all a very good day. Thank you.